where the wees are wees, unless it's a me. Welcome to Drop Your Buffs. Thanks for joining us. My name is Stuart. We're talking about Survivor Game Changers tonight. It's the 11th of May. With me, as usual, my co-host, Craig. How's it going, Craig?
Hi, Stu. How are you? That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Michaela's little comment at Tribal Council about me's and we's and w's and m's and...
It was.
You did well to get that out.
Well, I thought that we almost needed a diagram, didn't we? Just to try and explain it, because she was talking about the big W, and the big W can go upside down.
Well, I had no idea what she was talking about. Then she's talking about Big W, which of course is a discount chain store in Australia. And I'm going, well, was this a bit of interesting bit of product placement or something? Anyway, we got there in the end. We worked it out. I quite liked the analogy, actually. Jeff seemed to like it too, because he used it himself.
It was good. It was, but the name of this episode though was "It's Not a High Without a Low."
Yeah.
Now, did someone say that in this episode?
Well, I didn't hear anyone say that, but I think it's a good way of describing the episode. I would describe this season as a bit of a high. It's been a fantastic season, I think, and I think it's set up to be an absolute cracker of a finish. But I can't say that tonight's episode was particularly exciting. It was very steady as she goes. There was nothing particularly dramatic that happened, really.
No.
A very normal sort of episode. So I'm calling this the low of the season. And you can't have a high without a low. Well, it's not a high without a low, which was the episode title.
No, that's
so
true.
Tonight was the low, I think.
We've only got 2 weeks left, you know.
Oh, really?
So next week is just another normal episode.
Oh,
and
serious?
The week after that is the big finale,
Oh, wow.
the whole shebang, and it'll be all done.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So there's not long to go yet.
Gee, it's gone by fast, hasn't it? Here we are already at that point.
It has. And I have to say, I do prefer the American-style Survivor.
One a week?
Yes.
One episode a week? Yeah.
One a week, and it's just a normal 1 hour episode.
Yep.
It sort of gets through it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think the Australian way of doing it is just, I don't know, it's just a bit too extended, isn't it?
A bit too laboured, and I don't know about you, Stu, but I don't have three nights a week spare to watch, and they're not 1 hour episodes either. The Australian version,
No,
quite often they're an hour and a half or 2 hours. It's a lot of a commitment.
No, it is very.
If you want to keep up with and watch it live and not be spoiled, yeah.
No, and it's very snappy editing on the US version. It really cuts to the chase very quickly.
The original and the best, no doubt about it. Yep.
Now we sort of we came straight off the back of the last episode, and look, it was obvious that Brad's alliance was pretty much duped by Andrea, because they didn't know that she was going for Zeke.
No, they didn't. And Brad actually thought they were on the bottom, and we're a little bit surprised that there was someone gunning for Zeke. They didn't see that coming at all, I don't think.
Well, that's why I think that, you know how last week I think we were a bit confused as to why they voted for Ty, but I think it was because they knew it was they thought it was one of them. So they sort of picked what they thought was the bottom of their four, which was Ty.
Yep.
So that really has singled out Ty as being the bottom.
Well, exactly. And
if he wasn't sure about that
subsequent
already.
events made him realise where he stood as well. And we'll talk about the vote later, of course, but yeah, I think Ty might have realised that alliance isn't for him.
No, and I think at the time in last episode, Andrea didn't tell Brad and so on that they were going for Zeke, because she was worried about anyone sort of leaking that information or people flipping or things like that. So she let them believe that it was one of them.
Which is a great move. Great move.
It all worked out well for Andrea. So
yeah, it did. Michaela didn't like it though. The Tribal Council was a heartbreaker, she said. And we then heard from Sari. He was talking about that alliance of Culpepper, Sierra, and Troyzan, and said we've got to split them up.
And that made me think, you know, should we start calling him Sierra Pepper? which is very close to Salt and Pepper. We could call him Salt and Pepper.
Where's Troyzan in that?
Maybe here's the meat in the sandwich of the Salt and Pepper sandwich.
Sierra Pepper. Well, it's not going to last very long.
No, but I mean he is certainly thick and fast with them as well, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, we've been saying it all along. It's a strong alliance, and it hasn't wavered.
No, that's right. It's probably
those three have not wavered.
It's probably the only alliance that has lasted that long.
Well, we said that last week. We said that is the strongest alliance of the game. It's not a big alliance because there's only 3 of them, but they have not wavered since the beginning.
No, that's right.
Very strong. Which is why Sari's saying you got to split them up.
Exactly.
Got to get rid of them, and they're going to get more and more powerful as the numbers change.
Now, Sierra tells Sarah about her advantage that she's got. Now, this is the advantage that's the legacy idol, isn't it? That she can use when there's 6 left.
Well,
right?
She had 2 options to use it. And I think one was at 13 left. I think obviously those days are gone, and she didn't use it at that point. So the only other time she can use it is when there's 6 left.
Yes.
So in this episode, there's 9. So we're still 3 tribal councils from her being able to use it for that. And the interesting little sting in the tail of that one is that if she's voted out with that in her possession, she's required to. She has to will it to somebody. And it obviously plays out as well and becomes part of the strategy of tonight's episode. So she did confide with Sarah that. She made a comment about how Sarah was not only an ally or in the game, but she was also a friend, which I was a little surprised to hear. I haven't sort of observed them being super tight and super friendly, and that's not to say they're not, but just of what we've seen of it, I hadn't seen much of that, so it was interesting to hear that.
Yeah, well, I think Sarah, more than anyone, has really been playing a bit of a lone wolf sort of a game, really. I don't think she's tied to anyone. She's been switching and flipping to whoever
that's right.
suits her cause. And but I guess Sierra, she told Sarah that because she was just trying to, to ingratiate herself and just to
build trust and and Sarah appreciated being told that and told us that she wanted to keep Sierra in the game. We'll see about that. So off we go to the reward challenge.
For an American-style barbecue and loved ones.
Burgers, hot dogs, and cupcakes, interestingly enough. But yes, the big focus of this really wasn't really so much the challenge. It was really the appearance of the loved ones. And as soon as Jeff said that the loved ones are coming in, you've got Sarah was just distraught. Sari was in tears. Michaela was crying. They were all very emotional about this, as they always are. There's nothing unusual about that.
No,
I guess after that long apart, you'd be pretty keen to see someone who's on your side.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and it was, and this did take up a fair chunk of the episode, really.
But there was a lot of Survivor real estate invested in all of this, as they usually do.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with that because I think the thing with the loved ones episode is that it always shows a more true self of each of the survivors. You don't normally see that side of them.
Yes.
And even people that you didn't really like in Survivor, you find you like once you see them with their family members.
Well, you see them, as you say, as more of a real person rather than whatever character they've tried to create for the show.
Yeah, that's right.
Or whatever strategy they happen to be playing. Yeah,
that's right.
So we met Sarah and her husband Wyatt, who Sierra thought looked pretty sexy and Ty seemed to be flirting with. We met Andrea and her mum Linda, and she said some lovely things about her mum and her sister and how her sister had encouraged her to apply back in the day. We met Aubrey and Kerry, her sister.
I think it was Kerry, yeah.
Yep. We met Sierra and her dad, Dan, who had some very profound things to say about life and staying strong and doing all those wonderful things. And Sierra sort of confided to him that everything had been so hard. She was quite vulnerable, actually, at that moment. Who else we had? We had Michaela and her mum, Candy.
That's right.
And Michaela was talked about how hard her mother works and that it was great that she was in Fiji, not having to worry about money and paying for things. We met Troyzan and not his brother Todd. He was expecting to see his brother Todd, but it was actually his brother Peter who came.
No, I think it was his brother Todd, wasn't it?
No, he said it was Peter. He was expecting to see Todd.
But wasn't he joking about the Brady Bunch though at that time?
Well, he said, didn't he say? He said he was expecting to see Todd. Out comes this guy, and then at the very end he says, "Oh, this is actually Peter."
Yeah, because I thought he was saying that he's got there are 6 kids in the family. There's three guys, 3 girls. Yeah. And he said this one's Peter. So
you're saying he's the Peter character from the Brady Bunch?
Yes, yeah. And so that was his joke he was going along with. But I'm not really a big Brady Bunch person though. So I must admit I know Marsha, and that's about it. So I'm not sure
everyone knows Marsha, Stu.
Exactly.
But, well, look, I took it at face value that his name really was Peter, so I have no idea then. It didn't even occur to me that he might be doing something a bit like that. Then we met Ty and his partner Mark.
Now, I thought this was funny.
What happened? what was funny about this?
Because we first knew that his name was Mark, but we didn't know.
I know where you're going with this.
What was coming out? whether it's his father Mark or brother Mark or whatever.
Yep.
And the first thing I thought was, it's Mark the chicken.
Well, yes.
Obviously.
Yes. Well, now I think we've had a Survivor mystery explained.
Well, no, because I think apparently, the original Mark the chicken was named after Mark the producer.
Oh, Mark Burnett.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
So that's where the Mark came from.
Oh, okay.
Originally.
Oh.
But still,
that'd be a better story, wouldn't it? If he'd actually named it after his partner, Mark. Because we're talking, everyone is completely lost about what we're talking about. We're talking about in a previous season, Ty formed a particularly strong bond with one of the chickens, and it was called Mark.
But you wouldn't want to name the chicken after your partner when there's a real risk
and
of
then cut the head off and eat
exactly.
it. Yeah, no, that's not good.
It's not good.
No. Well, equally, going after the producer when you're trying to win $1 million, I don't know. Anyway, either way. Anyway. And moving on.
Yeah, so anyway, Mark wasn't the chicken in this case.
Mark was not the chicken.
No,
Excellent. Good news for Mark. And finally, we had Culpepper and the return of Monica, who, of course, is a survivor, is survivor royalty, having made it to the final 2 or 3 or day 39 of the season which she played. So it's great to see Monica back. And so we talked last week about how someone gets a boost out of...
Hang on, we just had Suri as well. Suri had a...
Oh, sorry, I didn't talk... Yes, you're right.
Her son, Gerard.
Yeah, exactly. Who just graduated
Jared.
from high school. Yeah. Gerard, I think is his full name. Sorry. So who do you think... We talked last week about someone gets a boost from the family visits. Who do you think it... You got any thoughts on who got that boost?
Well, certainly Suri was extremely emotional about it, and she seems to be a very emotional person anyway, and so I could see that being a big effect on her. But then we had a scene with Brad talking to his wife Monica, and it's like it was a very serious conversation about strategy and so on. But I'm not sure. I mean, all that we really saw was that she was sort of picking out Michaela as being obviously distraught at not being picked, and and I don't know whether Monica's observation about that was particularly earth-shattering. It was a pretty obvious sort of a...
Yeah, well, it wasn't the observation that Michaela would be distraught, I think, that wasn't earth-shattering, but I think...
She was going to be a flipper.
But she took it a step further, and that he may not have thought of, and that was that, she's going to flip. She's not going to side with you now because you didn't take her. She's going to harbour that grudge, and you didn't bring her on the reward, so she's very likely to flip. So that's, I think, perhaps something he hadn't thought of.
And Monica was very... sure about that, wasn't she?
Very adamant. Yeah, adamant. So I think possibly Culpepper got the most out of that.
You reckon?
Hard to know.
Yeah.
Suri certainly got a boost. She's obviously very close to her son. But I just wonder whether Culpepper got a little more in terms of strategy. And we don't know what else they talked about. I don't know how long they were together there for, but you can imagine there was probably quite a long talk about strategy there. So... Monica being part of the Survivor community would know some of these people as well. I don't know if any of these people she's actually played with in her season. I'd have to go back and have a look. But
no, she was in
would expect
Blood
that she
versus Water, wasn't she? So
okay.
So she would have played with the...
Was Andrea in that one?
No, but the first Suri that was voted out in the first episode, she was in Blood versus Water, if you remember.
Yeah.
But of course, she's not here now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone else.
We'd have to have a good look at that. But
that is still there.
But she would, as I say, I mean, from what I've read over the years, there's quite an active Survivor community. They know each other. They go to a lot of the same events. So she would know some of these people, I think, and be able to provide some real insights combined with her experience, her own personal experience in the game. So I think maybe Culpepper perhaps got the best bounce out of it. Time will tell. That's my thought. But anyway, before we can go on the reward, we have to have a challenge and find out who wins. So we ended up with Culpepper, Aubrey, and Andrea.
I saw pretty much from the start. I saw Culpepper's team, and I thought
they led the whole way.
Yeah.
And then
they looked pretty strong from the start.
From the start, they looked strong, and of course, at the end, they had a
throwing challenge.
A throwing challenge, which is just absolutely set up for Culpepper. Every time he's in a throwing challenge, he absolutely nails it. Tonight was no exception. They led the whole way. Bang! It was over.
I don't know about you, Craig, but one of the things that really makes me squeamish is the bits where they have to dig under the sand, where there's a log they have to crawl under, and they have to dig this hole under the sand and crawl through there.
They go in backwards, and Ty got stuck, and Sierra's leg got stuck,
and they never dig a big enough hole, do they? I mean,
sandy.
I'd be there all day before I start going through that hole.
I'd want a nice gap. I would not want to get stuck somewhere in a sandy hole with a log on top of me. That'd be just horrible. Anyway, so. Michaela was pretty angry at the result when they didn't win. Her mother told her to cool down, calm down. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, she kicked something, wasn't she?
Yeah, she did.
The box or something.
She was furious.
Yeah.
And her mum said, calm down.
She's a very explosive person.
She is. She obviously has to do that to get her emotions out and to deal with it. She doesn't bottle things up. They just come out and that's her release. So Culpepper, Aubrey and Andrea then had to choose somebody. And they chose Sari. And then they were given the chance to choose one more person, and they ended up taking Sarah. So off they went to wherever they went.
Michaela seemed really angry, but I don't know why she felt like she was saying that it seemed unfair that they got to have their time with their loved ones, and why couldn't she too as well, basically? And you think, well, it's. She didn't have any particular special alliance with them, I don't think, really, where she thought that she would get something out of it.
I think she was doing her Michaela thing, which is to vent. She was unhappy with how things went down. She was venting. And Andrea sort of made a comment about this too. She said, "Look, give her a day to get over it, and you'll be back on track. It'll be fine." So Andrea wasn't too concerned, and as it turns out, probably with good reason. So off they went to the reward. We've already talked about the conversation that Monica and Culpepper had, but I think for me the highlight of the episode was Sari's son, Jerry, in this wide-eyed amazement. That I think he's even there, sitting on this remote beach with his shirt off, but quite stunned at the toilet arrangements.
Yes. Now, if that wasn't a gifable moment, I don't know what is, because I bet someone's done a gif of that. Because that was,
you're probably right. The eyes lit up, and it was a very expressive look on his face. It was quite funny. I don't know what he expected, but anyway, that was the best moment of the episode for me tonight. Anyway, off we go back to camp.
Back to the beach.
Back to camp where things aren't quite as good, because these people have not got on the reward and they've seen their loved ones go home. Michaela was not happy and was talking to Ty about an alliance, and he was very receptive to that. Yeah,
he seems to be receptive to anyone talking to him, basically, though, doesn't he?
He does flip backwards and forwards a lot.
Yeah, he's a very wishy-washy sort of a player, to be honest.
Yeah, and he hasn't got, until now anyway, he hasn't got strong alliances, and he's been a little bit of a lone wolf in some ways.
But if you've got two idols in your pocket,
you don't need to be, do you?
Who needs alliances?
Well, that's right. And as he goes further into the game and doesn't play them, I think
he's getting more
stronger
powerful.
And stronger.
He is, yeah. If he uses them properly.
If he uses them for a start.
Yeah,
I'm not confident that he definitely will.
No.
But we then had an interesting possibility form, and that was Sierra and Troyzanne was trying to find a way of boosting their alliance, which, as we know, includes Culpepper, who's over at the reward. And they ended up having a chat with Ty and Michaela about whether they could make a 5 with them. And Michaela was giving nothing away. She was saying to them anyway that she was open to that.
That's right.
I think Ty will go along whatever someone like if he's someone like Michaela who he's aligned with. But so Michaela was saying things that she was sick of being told what to do. They talked about how no one will be able to beat Andrea if they go up against her in the final 2 or 3 or whatever it ends up being. And I think that's probably quite accurate. I think Andrea will do well. She's a good player. We talked about this before. She's a good player physically. She's a good player strategically. She seems like a nice person who everybody likes. So
that's right.
She's got a very powerful combination and a good argument. So we sort of left that with potentially a little alliance of 5 that had formed out of the wreckage of the reward challenge.
Yeah, well, it's been such a topsy-turvy season, though. It's a bit hard to to trust what you see, isn't it?
Exactly. So, anyway, that was that. Off we went to the immunity challenge. Another one of these deceptively simple-looking endurance challenges that I like so much.
Well, they did last for quite a while, didn't they, really? Because I know...
It can't have been more than about 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, I know that at one stage it said 18 minutes. So
that was with only 3 left.
It was a bit after that, wasn't it? But...
And it was brand new, this one. We haven't. It's variation on a theme, obviously, but we've never run this exact challenge before.
Yeah, now, this one is where they had to hold a buoy with a pair of sticks. Now, in Australia...
We don't call them buoys, do we?
No.
It's a buoy.
It's a buoy. But if you say that we're going to hold a buoy with a pair of sticks, that doesn't sound very good, does it?
No, it does not.
And
we'll stick with buoy in that case.
Yeah, and if you think about it, I don't know why we say buoy here in Australia for a buoy, because it looks more like it should be buoy, doesn't it? If you look at the way it's spelled.
Well, it bobs up and down too, which has a buoy sort of sound about it.
You reckon?
And the way it's spelled, it's B-U-O-Y, isn't it?
B-U-O-Y. Yeah, I'm not sure what the etymology is of that word.
Someone leave a comment. We'd love to know. But anyway.
Now, Andrea, she sort of went out about sort of midway, didn't she? Because
she was third
there were
one
a few sort of early.
Third one to go, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, there was a fair bit of attention on her because, roughly half of the survivors really gunning for her, aren't they?
But she lasted longer than Sierra. Sierra was second one to go. So very early in the challenge, we had the two who at that point seemed most under threat.
Yeah.
Exited the challenge.
Although Culpepper's name had been thrown around a lot before because they've been talking about breaking up Culpepper and Sierra.
Well, and after the challenge, Andrea said that. Andrea said, "Look, Culpepper was actually the one going, but he won the challenge, so we need to revise the strategy." But so Culpepper came through, won his first ever individual immunity challenge in Survivor.
Yeah. Which is quite amazing, really. But I think because
he's never got that far.
No, because in his original season, that's right, he didn't last that long, really. So
if he made the merge, I
don't think
remember.
I don't think he made the merge. So that's right.
So anyway, so well done to him, and I think it probably did save his bacon on this occasion. So Andrea's refocusing her attention, and she ended up having a chat with Aubrey and Ty about whether it should be Sierra. And in response, we had Ty saying that he's still weighing his options.
And it certainly seems at this stage Michaela is the swing vote as well, because she's really, she's saying that she'll vote with whoever, really. It's all about her. So
well, it did seem to me also that it was a Ty-Michaela thing and that they would probably go together, but I agree that it's probably Michaela who was calling the shots and making the decision there. But she was thinking Andrea, she was thinking talking Sierra. And then, of course, there was a discussion between Michaela and Sierra. This is where Michaela was clearly playing both sides, where she told Sierra that Andrea was dropping her name in conversations.
Yeah.
So Michaela was not giving her not playing her hand, was playing both sides, and we really didn't know which way she was going to go.
That's right. So she's a bit like Sarah in that regard too, because Sarah's a bit that way, isn't she? She really has swung back and forth between.
She has, and she found herself in a really interesting position in this particular vote, because while she wanted Sierra to stay, there was actually an potential advantage for her in voting her out.
That's right,
because Sierra had already told her that she had this legacy advantage and that she had to will it, and she would will it to Sarah. So she, even though she really would prefer that Sierra stayed, it wasn't all bad.
No, and I think this was probably the only real drama in this episode. Yeah. Was what was going to happen to this legacy vote.
Yeah. And that's a bit game-changing as well. I'm not sure that we've had a situation quite like that before, where somebody has had multiple reasons for voting them out.
In that
that's
way,
right.
Anyway. Yeah. That's right.
So that was very, very interesting. But gee, I tell you what, at this point, if you know that Ty and Michaela are in some sort of alliance, you'd have to be pretty worried about them making the decision about who's going to go home, wouldn't you? Like, that could go. You have no idea how.
Why is that? Because they're just a bit
simply because
unpredictable.
Unpredictable. Ty does tend to, as you say, he's a bit wishy-washy and a bit flimsy at times about his strategy. You've got Michaela, who's explosive and can get quite emotional, and you don't quite know what she's going to do. So you'd have to be a bit nervous that your fate might be in their hands.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Voting for reasons that might not have everything to do with strategy. So anyway, off we went to Tribal Council. What's that for?
Oh, just the opening question was so frustrating because Jeff asked Andrea.
She didn't answer it.
Yeah. He just gave her a clear question about, Andrea, walk me through how you made that decision about when you won the Loved Ones Challenge and you had to choose two people to go with you and you chose Sari and Sarah. Walk me through how you came to that decision. And she just said something completely different.
Well, she basically said that Sari and Sarah went on the challenge with us. That's basically what she said.
Yeah,
we can see that.
She just talked about loved ones being important and things like that. And so that was a bit annoying. And I think
good answer though. It's a political game as well, and so she's.
It is, but you know
make
what?
A statement of your own. Basically, don't answer the question. Make a statement of your own.
That's what she did. It's true, but it does sort of set the theme for the rest of the tribal council as well, because I think a lot of the other questions and answers were like that as well. And then
do you find government politics very frustrating, Stu?
Well, I just find that I start to switch off after a while because it is literally pointless, isn't it?
Exactly.
And
not at all game changing.
No, yeah. So I've found some of these last few tribal councils a bit boring because what they're saying is just hot air. Whereas a few episodes ago when we had the tribal councils where everyone was standing up and talking, exactly. Things like that.
But we didn't have
that
a jury.
Was great.
We didn't have a jury watching then either. At that point.
No.
So now we've got the jury sitting there, and obviously I think they're being a little bit more careful about what they say because these guys are going to vote for them. So
yeah.
Anyway, so we had Andrea who didn't answer the question. You're quite right. Sierra mentioned how those that didn't go on the reward got closer back at camp, which was an interesting admission.
Jeff was saying he just made the comment. It's been such an unpredictable season.
Yeah,
which it has been.
It has, yeah, absolutely right. Aubrey, she said something, but I've got no idea what it was. Might have been another one of those comments that wasn't particularly interesting, Stu. Culpepper made a comment about how it's great to have immunity, but it doesn't help his alliance, which is true. Sierra then put Andrea under the bus and said people should be worried about other people, and then specifically singled out Andrea. And I don't think Andrea said anything particularly dramatic in response to that. Aubrey started the obvious by saying you have to decide who's the biggest threat. And Sarah made a comment about how the deck being reshuffled, to which Debbie and Zeke on the jury shared at the moment, because that, of course, was one of Zeke's little comments that he'd like to say.
That's right.
And we've heard that a few times. So anyway, that was the extent of the discussion. On we went to the vote.
Yep, take us through it, Craig.
All right. Well, there were nine votes cast. Sierra got 6 of them to Andrea's 3. The Sierra Culpepper Troyzan alliance held firm and voted for Andrea, but that they were the only ones who did. We had Ty and Michaela threw their allegiance behind the other alliance, and Sierra was sent packing.
Yes, she was.
6 votes.
Yep. And I guess that has achieved Andrea's alliance objective of trying to break up the salt and pepper.
Indeed it did. We just got pepper now.
That's right.
So you got Troyzan, and it puts him in a very vulnerable position. I just wonder whether we weren't really sure how Ty and Michaela were going to go. I think I was pretty confident they would vote together. I wonder whether this secret alliance, which still hasn't been revealed, that we've seen between Michaela and Sari, might have had an impact there and might have influenced that vote. And we didn't see the discussion about that, but whether that was one of her reasons for going that way. There hasn't been much talk about that alliance in the last few weeks.
No, that's right. We know it's there. It's very much under the radar at the moment, isn't it?
So Ty's followed her. And then we've basically had Andrea, Sari, Aubrey pretty much voting together all the time. Sarah's gone backwards and forwards a little bit, so she's now part of that group as well. There's a strong 6 now to Culpepper and Troyzan's 2.
That's right. Well, I thought it was funny when Sierra walked out of the Tribal Council area, and then you sort of saw a shot of Sarah looking.
Where's my legacy advantage?
And I thought, and
Andrea sort of picked up that there was sort of gave her a bit of a look, and I think Andrea might have picked up what's that about? Yeah.
But
of course, we didn't know how that was going to happen. We didn't know whether they would have to make that announcement at Tribal Council or whether they would. I don't think we knew, did we?
No. Well, see, afterwards it made sense, obviously, because she couldn't do it in front of everyone.
It wouldn't be an advantage, would it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, then it's not secret. So Sierra did go through with giving it to Sarah.
She did.
And she said something like, I hope that this person didn't vote for me. Which of course she did. But them's the breaks, I guess, isn't it?
But isn't it interesting that she did that? So she's had this strong alliance all the way through with Culpepper and Troyzan.
That is true, actually. I hadn't thought about that.
But she chooses to give the legacy advantage to Sarah.
Someone
why would she do that?
Completely different that she only really seems to have talked to in this episode. She hasn't really had much to do with Sarah.
Well, so as she said, she considers her a friend beyond an ally. She considers her a friend, but like the voting patterns. The evidence of the voting patterns is that her stronger alliance, all the way through, has been with Culpepper and Troyzan. So I don't really understand what she's doing there.
Yeah, and
she might regret it when she watches the tape and sees who actually voted for it.
And even though she had that strong alliance, she hadn't told her alliance about her advantage.
No, true. She only told Sarah.
She told other people about it. So
and Sarah, of course, told other people about it as well. Anyway, so it was probably worth recapping what some of the... are you going to go? Yeah. Yeah, sad music.
That's not the sad music, yes. Sierra, what do we know Sierra for? What was she mainly known for?
Very tall.
In the season.
Very white teeth.
She's very tall, and her dad's very tall as well.
Yes.
So I guess that's where it comes from.
Yes, that was.
So.
Look, Sarah's. I think she's a strong player. She formed a strong alliance. She did well.
Yeah. I think she played pretty well. Yeah.
Really well.
Well, we had a quick glimpse of next week and some fireworks between Michaela and Culpepper.
Yeah, indeed. And Suri looking like she might be about to do something a little bit dramatic and turn everything upside down. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it could be, really.
Not sure, really not sure about that. But can I do this, she said? So who knows? Who knows what that's going to be? Probably worth recapping at this point just some of the advantages that are left. So Sarah now holds the legacy advantage, but she can't do anything with it for another 2 episodes. Two tribal councils, I mean.
Two
so
tribals,
could be next week maybe if they do 2 in one episode. And we know that it acts like an immunity idol. And she also has from the advantage she found during a challenge an episode or 2 back, she's got a vote stealing ability as well. So Sarah has both of those. Ty has got 2 idols. And we think Troyzan's still got his 1 idol that he found a long time ago.
I'm pretty sure he does, but he hasn't even mentioned it for a long time.
We have not heard about that for ages.
So there's still, I mean, for a very topsy-turvy, unpredictable season, we still have 5 things that are in the wind.
Well, yeah, and there's potential.
With only 2 weeks to go.
Imagine if 3 idols got played, say, at 5 to go.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible. It'd be like that episode we had a few years ago where no one could vote for anybody just because of the way it all played out. Remember at the reunion show, Jeff put up the picture of who was at tribal council. They can't vote, they can't vote, they can't do this. Remember that?
Exactly.
So we've got the potential for something like that to happen, which would be sensational.
Yes.
But anyway, that's a discussion for another day.
That's right. Oh, well, I think that's all we have to really say for this episode. It wasn't really a great deal happened, so but I think that there's a lot.
There's a lot coming.
Yeah, there's a lot set up for the last couple of weeks. So it's going to be a big last couple of weeks.
Big 2 weeks. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Craig, and thanks everyone for listening.
Good to be here. See you next time.
Bye.